Most men think attraction is something you do. How you dress, what you say, how confident you appear. But real attraction isn't performed. It's detected. People don't respond to what you claim to be. They respond to what your presence communicates without effort. And the most attractive men rarely realize how attractive they are because they're not chasing reactions. This video isn't about looks. It isn't about money. And it isn't about learning lines. These are the subtle psychological signals people, especially women, pick up before you ever speak. Signals that can't be faked for long. If you recognize yourself in these signs, attraction isn't something you're trying to build. It's already there. Sign 1. You're comfortable with silence. Highly attractive men don't rush to fill space. They don't talk to avoid awkwardness. They don't over-explain to be understood. They don't panic when conversations slow down. Silence doesn't threaten them. And that's rare. Most people fear silence because silence exposes insecurity. It removes distraction. It forces presence. When a man can sit comfortably without needing to impress, his nervous system communicates stability. That stability feels safe. And safety is attractive. Women notice this immediately. In conversation, when you pause instead of scrambling for words, you signal confidence. You're not afraid of judgment. You're not chasing approval. You trust that your presence alone is enough. Silence also creates gravity. When you don't speak unnecessarily, your words carry weight. People listen more closely. They lean in, not because you're louder, but because you're grounded. Attractive men don't dominate conversations. They anchor them. And the paradox is this: the less you try to hold attention, the more attention you command. Sign 2. You don't react emotionally to everything. One of the clearest signs of high attractiveness is emotional regulation. You don't overreact to jokes. You don't get defensive over small things. You don't let moods control your behavior. This isn't emotional suppression. It's emotional mastery. Highly attractive men respond instead of react. They process before speaking. They don't let their ego run the conversation. This calmness creates contrast. When others are anxious, impulsive, or reactive, your steadiness stands out. People feel grounded around you because you're not emotionally volatile. Women especially notice this. Emotional stability signals strength. It says, this man can handle pressure. He won't collapse under uncertainty. And that's deeply attractive. When someone tests you, intentionally or unconsciously, and you remain composed, the test ends immediately. Not because you passed verbally, but because your nervous system didn't flinch. Attraction grows when someone feels they can be themselves around you without managing your emotions. That's rare. And rarity creates value. Sign 3. You don't seek validation, even when it's available. Highly attractive men don't fish for compliments. They don't ask if they're liked. They don't need reassurance. They don't adjust themselves to be chosen. They already chose themselves. This doesn't mean arrogance. It means internal validation. Your sense of worth doesn't rise or fall based on reactions, attention, or approval. And people feel this. When validation is scarce in you, it becomes valuable to others. When approval isn't easily earned, it feels meaningful when it's given. Women notice when a man doesn't need their interest to feel complete. It removes pressure. It creates freedom. And paradoxically, it creates desire. Because the man who doesn't need to be chosen becomes the man people want to choose. Attraction is pulled towards self-sufficiency. When your confidence is quiet, stable, and unshakable, people sense depth. They sense standards. They sense that your attention is selective. And selectiveness is attractive. Sign 4. People mirror your energy without realizing it. One of the clearest indicators of high attractiveness is unconscious mirroring. People adjust their tone around you. They slow down. They become more present. Not because you ask them to, but because your energy sets the frame. Highly attractive men lead emotionally without force. Their pace becomes the pace. Their calm becomes the atmosphere. Women may find themselves talking more openly, laughing more naturally, feeling more relaxed, and they won't know why. This happens because emotional leadership is felt, not announced. When your presence is grounded, others sink to it instinctively. You don't chase engagement. You create a space others step into. That's magnetic. People don't just like being around you. They feel different around you. And emotions are what people remember. Not words. Not facts. Feelings. Sign 5. You can walk away without bitterness. Nothing signals attraction more clearly than the ability to walk away cleanly. Not angrily, not dramatically, not as a tactic, but peacefully. Highly attractive men don't cling to situations that don't align with them. They don't negotiate their worth. They don't stay where interest is uncertain or respect is lacking. And they don't punish or resent. They simply leave. This communicates self-respect at the highest level. It says, I value myself enough not to chase what doesn't choose me. Women notice this immediately. Because most men stay too long. They tolerate confusion. They accept imbalance. Walking away ends unhealthy dynamics without confrontation. It restores polarity. It shows boundaries without explanation. And here's the paradox. The moment you're genuinely willing to lose someone, fear disappears, and attraction often increases. Not because leaving creates desire, but because fearlessness does. Sign 6. You're at peace being alone. This is the foundation of all attraction. Highly attractive men are not afraid of solitude. They enjoy their own company. They have direction outside relationships. They don't use people to escape loneliness. This creates a powerful signal, wholeness. When a man doesn't need companionship to feel complete, his relationships become a choice, not a dependency. And choice is attractive. Women feel safe around men who aren't using them to fill emotional gaps. There's no pressure to perform, no fear of abandonment controlling the interaction. Just presence. And presence is magnetic. The man who is comfortable alone is never desperate, never rushed, never needy. He doesn't chase attraction. Attraction recognizes him. Sign 7. You don't try to be liked. You allow yourself to be felt. Highly attractive men are not concerned with being liked. They are concerned with being real. This distinction changes everything. Most men shape themselves around approval. They soften opinions, hide edges, and filter their thoughts to avoid rejection. They believe attraction comes from being agreeable. It doesn't. Attraction comes from presence with integrity. When a man allows himself to be felt, without forcing acceptance, he creates polarity. His opinions have weight because they are not adjusted for comfort. His humor lands because it's unfiltered. His silence is felt because it's intentional. People sense when someone is not editing themselves to fit in, and that authenticity is rare. Women especially notice this because it creates emotional contrast. There is no performance, no hidden agenda, no subtle request for validation underneath the interaction. The man is not asking, "Do you like me?" He's asking, "Do you resonate with me?" That shift is powerful. It removes pressure. It removes neediness. It allows attraction to form organically, or not at all. And paradoxically, this increases desire, because rejection no longer has power over you. Highly attractive men are willing to be misunderstood. They don't over-explain. They don't correct every assumption. They don't chase clarity at the expense of self-respect. They allow others to interpret them, and accept that not everyone will. This creates emotional depth. People feel something around you, even if they can't name it. And feeling something is the doorway to attraction. Because neutrality is forgettable. But a man who allows himself to be felt, without apology, leaves an impression long after he's gone. That is not loud confidence. That is quiet authority. Closing. Attraction you don't have to prove. Highly attractive men don't try to convince anyone. They don't sell themselves. They don't perform confidence. They don't force interest. They simply are. And if you saw yourself in these signs, attraction isn't something you need to build. It's something you protect by staying grounded, disciplined, and self-directed. Because the strongest signal of all is this. You don't need to be noticed. You already are. This is Stickman Influence. See you in the next video.